I hate robbing banks.
Elijah's changed over the years. He's given up.
We keep him heavily sedated.
But there is a reason for that.
He's too smart for them.
You won't be lonely anymore. You have two new friends.
Security guard David Dunn uses his supernatural abilities to track Kevin Wendell Crumb, a disturbed man who has 24 personalities. Written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, the last in the Unbreakable trilogy, Glass. So, Joe, Glass.
Yeah, I want to start by here's a little perspective. Did you catch Chris Stuckman's top 10 this year by any chance?
I did not catch Chris Stuckman's top
I
10.
usually am looking forward to his top 10 every year, like really looking forward to it. If you caught it this year, I kind of found it to be very lacking in his usual energy. He also said he was not going to do a top 10 worst list this year, and his argument was that, well, I just don't like the idea of pissing all over somebody's project. Making a movie is hard, and I don't really feel very good about, tap dancing all over someone's failure. To which I said, I love doing that. I love talking about bad movies, and I have no compunction. Usually when we talk about bad movies, it's usually because of studio interference or just a blatant disrespect for certain characters. So I have no problem talking about those films. But I can understand the 10% that says, I just don't take a lot of joy in, berating someone's hard work. This falls under that 10%, where I can genuinely say, I know what you're saying. I don't take a lot of joy in belittling someone's hard work. But I have to just come out and say it, that I really feel like this film has kind of, for me anyway, cemented the idea that M. Night Shyamalan is not a very good filmmaker. Because this thing there were just so many times as I was watching this film where I just said to myself, I'm like, wait, what? What? So much of it just did not make sense.
So when the movie ended, I was very mixed on my feelings. I felt like up to a point, I thought things were going well. I thought that they were staying within universe, within the rules that he set up and everything like that. And I kind of like the idea of the psychiatrist that was trying to, put doubt in the minds of the heroes and the villains. But then after the ending happened, and I mean, we should just discuss this right off. We both feel that this is a middling, well, Joe may feel less than I do. I felt it was a middling movie. I felt like it was good, but it was not kind of like what the hype I had expected from the build-up from the first two movies. You had the great Unbreakable, the wonderful Split, and then you kind of have this, which kind of mashes together and doesn't really stick very well, especially with that ending, which we're going to discuss. But we just want to give people that are watching and listening right now the opportunity to understand that we're about in the middle, Joe probably less so, and from this point forward, we're going to get into spoilers. Big spoilers.
Big spoilers.
So this is your chance to get the hell out.
He's got a store. He and his son own the security shop. Okay, makes sense. He finds the beast, right? Follows him back to his lair, his hideout, and there's a fight. A fight breaks out. And now that, I'm thinking to myself, well, this is sort of, I almost thought that was a little too early, because I thought, well, this is kind of the big fight we've been waiting for, was to see what would happen when these two, when the unstoppable force meets the
immovable object.
Right. And I kind of was thinking, this is going to be interesting. So that was cool. And then, of course, that ends very quickly with them being taken in. All right. Okay. I mean, I saw in the trailer that this is going to take place in the loony bin. So I kind of, I almost felt like maybe they didn't even need to do that. Maybe they should have just opened the film with them already in the loony bin. Honestly, I kind of feel like maybe they should have done that in flashback, maybe just a little out of sequence. Because honestly, when you started with the big fight, then you get to the loony bin, and it's like, oh, all right. Like you just sort of felt everything grind to a stop. Once they were in the loony bin, and when they first of all they put the Beast in his cell, no shackles, no chains, and again, this guy is a full-blown serial killer. Like, it's acknowledged that this guy has murdered teenage girls and was trying to murder more.
Right.
He's in there with no shackles, no nothing, except for these lights that for some reason, and I don't know if there's any basis in scientific fact or anything, but when the lights go off, he'll flash between personalities. Right. I mean, he's had people walking in there routinely. Like the scene where the guy walks in and he's laying there doing this thing and he says, "Oh, I dropped my hypodermic needle. Would you pick it up, please?" And the guy bends down to pick it up. I'm like,
that was the Jane character.
Yeah. I sat there like I was kind of stunned, saying to myself, what am I missing here? Because any normal situation, this guy would be locked up solid. He would not be anywhere in any way able to reach a person like a guard or a doctor, whoever comes in. And this guy could get murdered at any second. So
Eventually
what
he does.
I mean, I'm already saying to myself, like, either this is just really poorly written, or some little punchline is going to come. Well, guess which one it was? It was just really poorly written.
Not to mention the fact that you took away the conceit from the first movie of the intellectualism of comic books. And you've kind of brought it down to the broadest level of comic book to make the story move forward.
Yeah. I found that this seemed to have, as much as they seemed to focus on it on a surface level even more, I felt like this had much less to do with actual comic books or even the mythology of heroes, as much as it was just sort of about psychology. And I guess that was sort of what they wanted you to do, but the twist was supposed to be that, the psychologist is trying to convince everyone that you're crazy if you believe in comic heroes, and this could be easily explained away. I was really annoyed, by the way, when she was getting to the son. She sits the son down, and he starts telling her things about the mother dying, and isn't it possible that you... But he's been living with the father consistently for the years from when he was a young boy, when he first realized... First of all, he knew his father was a superhero before his father did.
Right.
He knew that his father could do all these things. And then he found out he was right. And from the years going forward, literally every single day, his father would go out on patrols, find bad guys, hunt them down. Basically, he was like, somewhere between the Daredevil and the Punisher or Batman. So he was doing these things every single day. So, I mean, if this therapist was trying to convince him that he was delusional, I'd be like, lady, I hear where you're coming from, and I can understand why you would say that. But I've seen him do things with my own eyes. So again, the fact that she talked to him once and he walked out completely doubting himself, I was like, come on.
And here's a fun little fact that somebody dug up. Elijah Price, for being the namesake of this movie, doesn't really show up until about 30 minutes in and doesn't speak for about an hour in of this 2 hour and 9 minute movie.
Right. Doesn't speak, sitting there drooling on himself for the first hour of the movie. I don't remember Elijah being a super genius in the first one. I remember him being reasonably smart, but I do not remember him being like, super genius levels of smart. This one, suddenly now he was able to do everything. And by the way, this is one of those films, I could be here all day nitpicking the things that were driving me crazy. The whole scene where he leaves his cell, all the cameras are going, he goes off to do his thing because there's only one guard at this entire facility. Could you imagine walking into a hospital and finding one person working there? This is a mental hospital, which I suppose, again, is pretty big. Supposedly has more people in it than just the three of them.
No, but they're in the west section. They're in the west section of the Raven Hospital. You know why I know that? Because when they picked them up, that was what she said into the radio. Take them to the Raven Hospital, the west section. It's like, why would you announce that on a radio? What is the point of that bit of exposition?
Right,
that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And
right.
that just stuck in my craw for the rest of the movie. Oh, and she does it again later on, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So you're right. So of course there's only one guard at night. He leaves. They don't. Again, he doesn't wait for the other guy to come in and take his station before. No. It's so casual that he walks out, high fives the guy as he's leaving. Then the guy comes in and gets caught up in a conversation about what?
Let's see. I remember grapeseed extract.
Right.
I remember drinking lots of water.
I thought at any minute the guy was gonna turn and go, I like hot dogs.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap. They got a cool shape. They got protein. You like hot dogs, right?
The dialogue in your movie, even if it's just to kill some time, it still matters. So this little boring diatribe about food and his diet. I was having flashbacks of the happening. It was so bad.
Okay, so the Cloverleaf group, which is what I'm calling them because they didn't really have a name, has to be the most amazingly silly Deus Ex Machina I have ever seen in my life. That really annoyed the hell out of me.
I am with you there. That was pretty abysmal. And again, around that time in the movie, I honestly, at that stage, I was literally saying to myself, well, Mr. What a Twist.
What a twist!
There better be a damn good twist coming up because otherwise I'm not into this movie at all. And when that twist came, I was out. Nope, sorry.
Granted, I will grant him this. It did answer one question that I had with regards to, well, why are there only these three? And this was his way of explaining that. And it's like, it's kind of a poor answer. It's kind of really a poor answer. It kind of undercuts, in a way, it proves Elijah's theory in the first one that comics are a reflection of what people have seen. But on the other side of the coin, it's kind of like, this is the last act of your movie. This is the last act of your trilogy, where you're supposed to be kind of bringing all the questions that you've had in the previous ones together. And I kind of was thinking up to that point that he was doing an okay job of it, that it all kind of sort of made sense. But then the guy with the cloverleaf thing on his wrist as he's taking the shot, and I was like, okay, he didn't just show that cloverleaf for no reason. That's not there for no reason. So, and then all three of them, the guy was pushing poor David Dunn's head. We lost David Dunn, for God's sake. David Dunn is dead.
Oh, that was painful. When the guy, when they killed him off by a random faceless goon sticking his head in a puddle in a pothole, I literally didn't believe it. I said, there's no way. There's no way they just killed off this character in such a lame, stupid, meaningless way by a meaningless nobody in such a boring way. I said, he's going to come back. There's going to be, I thought for sure that the whole point of that was that, according to what Elijah said, he hadn't even really, come to grips with all of his powers. I thought this was going to be the big one. This was going to be the big, almost like the finale that some people were waiting for in Unbreakable, where they thought like this was going to really get superhero-ish, and it didn't. So a lot of people were disappointed. I wasn't. I don't think you were either.
No, it's not.
But I thought for sure this was where M. Night was going to go, oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. And kabloom. Nope. David Dunn died in a puddle of water. Wow. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Like, that was, and for no reason, for no big payoff, no nothing, just, we need all three characters to be dead to get to the punchline. So dumb. So stupid.
I don't think this movie needed the twist. I think the movie could have nicely ended with just David walking away, the Beast dead, Elijah dead. Why couldn't that have been ended it that way? Why did they have to kill him? That is the part I didn't get.
Well, they killed him off because their whole again, the
Cabal. I know. Whatever the frick this society is.
The payoff.
Yeah.
I mean, the payoff, and I'm making the finger quotes, was that the three who were left, the son, the girl, and Elijah's mother, were going to expose this group, this secret organization of Illuminati type people who want to keep superheroes hidden, which we were doing, by the way, right up until 20 minutes ago. I mean, we were trying to keep David Dunn's identity secret and yada yada. But now, for some reason, we're going to expose that there really are superheroes. What that accomplishes, I don't know. Why this secret group would want to keep superheroes secret and go to all that trouble, I don't know.
No, of course we don't know, because there was no time to explain.
Right. None of it made a lick of sense to me. But again, so they had to bump off David Dunn in the most who cares way possible to do that little twist ending, which again I felt nothing for. I felt nothing for the group that wanted to keep it hidden. I felt nothing for the three who wanted to expose it. Either way, who cares? And not for nothing, when they actually showed the clips, like ooh wow, we're gonna put these clips online, right? Clips of David Dunn slowly, kind of, sort of bending what looked like PVC pipe, which I think would have shattered if that was real life, but he bends it. Okay, so he bends this pipe. If you saw that online, would you stop for 5 seconds and go, oh, that's interesting? No, you'd be like, so what? The pipe is probably made out of something. The pipe, when even the part with the guy lifting the car, by the way, the special effects were pretty weak. But when they showed the Beast lifting the car, I mean, even that, I'm saying to myself, like, it wasn't like he was Superman lifting it over his head. He was struggling to lift a medium-sized car. He's a
with two heavy people in them.
He's a reasonably built guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody watching that would be like, okay, so this guy's high on PCP. He lifted a car, or he got a burst of adrenaline. He lifted a car. I don't really think anybody would even care about those clips. I kind of felt like, seriously, like, and then the whole world was going to see these on their phones, and it was going to go viral, and everybody was going to. I don't think anybody would have cared.
I'm pretty sure Captain Disillusion would break down how it was fake. Like
anybody would, even if somebody tried to push this as being real. I've seen other videos of people staging things that were much more convincing and much more like, oh wow, that's like, there's something you wouldn't see. But like a guy kids doing lightsabers in videos is more impressive than a video of a guy bending a bar. Right. I'm watching this and I'm saying, bullshit. Sorry. But and then of course the guard comes into his room. The one surprise I think was when he actually slashed his throat with the piece of glass. Mm-hmm. Okay, but again, I'm saying to myself, no, you would not let an inmate have glass in his room for exactly that reason.
Right.
I mean, again, this anybody above an 8th grade level would understand it. That's not something that would happen. And again, this whole movie was just sort of built on these blocks that were made of things that just would not happen in real life. Doesn't make any sense. So no. So no. Just another problem I had. Go ahead.
I would really like to get where the thinking was with this. This is the problem that I have. Unbreakable was a solid and understandable movie from beginning to end. Split, which I got to rewatch over the weekend before I went to see Glass. Split was another very solid movie. I thought well told. And, even right up to the end, just, kind of had you on pins and needles. I feel like seeing those two movies back to back before I saw this definitely helped my experience, but it still doesn't excuse some of the shortcuts that I feel that happened just to get from point A to point Z. If you really wanted to tell the story of the destruction of these three characters, why did it have to be this way? Why did it have to be a cabal of people that were controlling the superhero population like some weird PETA or, ASPCA or something like that of superheroes? Oof. Which is what I'm getting from it as it is.
Yeah.
Not even explain it, not give them a proper origin. You spent so much time explaining the character of Mr. Glass, of David Dunn, of, the Horde. I'm just going to call him the Horde because he's got so many damn different characters. It's really not one to pick out. And yet, you have this super organization, which is the linchpin of your story, but they get really no introduction, and you're just supposed to whisper, understand, simply because we live in a world of conspiracy theory, and we're just supposed to fill in the blanks from that? How do you go from such smart, intelligent character building to this shortcut, this literal Deus ex machina of this Cabal character? It annoys me. It really, really annoys me. I was on board. Shortcomings and all, I was on board with this movie right up until that happened. I saw the shortcomings, I did, but I was kind of like, you know what? But I'm kind of enjoying myself. I'm kind of digging. I'm digging the little parts of it. I didn't like the fact that she put doubt in Joseph's mind, but I could see her putting doubt in David's mind. I could see her putting doubt in the Horde's mind. Absolutely, I could, because even the Horde in the first movie spent most of the time unsure if all this was real or not. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. But you have a movie titled Glass, and you're kind of trying to think to yourself that in some way, shape, or form, he is at the bottom of everything that ebbs and flows throughout this entire movie. But it's not the case. So why is it called Glass? Why is it not called Clover?
There you go. Yeah, here's a I kind of went on record saying that I didn't mind The Happening nearly as bad as most people do.
And I'm sure you're now asking for forgiveness for that.
I am. Honest to God, when the whole Clover Society showed up, just like you said, a Deus Ex Machina shows up out of nowhere, no explanation, no reason why they would be so anti-superhero or whatever. They just show up, and that's what a twist.
What a twist!
Honestly, I was having flashbacks of like, oh, it was the trees.
What? No.
Why? We don't know. And why did it stop? Just because it stopped. That's it. It's like he has no sense of, I guess I have to explain why this is a thing, why it would work the way it does, why this is such an integral part of the plot. I mean, if the whole plot hinges on something, then give us some explanation of why it is, or what it is, or what. I mean, it was just so frustrating. Again, the idea that they would bump off David Dunn in such a completely nonsensical non-event. Oh my God. That was beyond frustrating. Again, like I said, I was convinced there's no way they're going to kill him off like that. The fact that they did, oh my God, that just speaks volumes. This was just abysmal. I'm sorry.
No, man, I feel you. I do. It was a very frustrating experience for me. Mostly at the end, like I said, I was kind of on board. But yeah, it gets to a point where you just start saying to yourself, okay, but now it's not making any sense anymore. Now it's gone off into a direction that, okay, explain this to me. Explain this to me why this is suddenly important. in either of the other movies, you had an explanation building up to the reveal. Okay, there was no explanation building up to the reveal. It gives motivation to the character, because that was actually one of the first questions I had. I was like, why is this shrink so obsessed with making them believe that they're not superheroes? What is the goal? What is the end goal of that?
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is why. It's like,
What? No.
that's still not good enough. That's not a good enough explanation.
I didn't really even mind her character up until that point. I just sort of felt like this is what shrinks do. I mean, I kind of feel like most situations, if something kind of supernaturally is happening, or somebody walks in, oh, I saw a ghost, their job is going to be to tell you how wrong you are. I didn't really mind that too much, really. Once that stupid twist comes, and they're like, oh no, she was part of some underground conspiracy that's been just so people never ever know that superheroes exist. Come on. No, absolutely not.
But dude, I gotta stop for a second. I gotta give it out to Mr. McAvoy for a minute there. There is a scene in the movie where they're escaping. They're escaping from the institution, and Mr. Glass makes them go down to the basement. And he says, you're going to have to dress up and be one. So he's dressed up in a costume, and he's just walking. And just from the way he walked, the first thing I said to myself was, it's Patricia. And sure enough, it was Patricia. Just from the way he was walking.
I feel like this whole entire movie is it's almost like, you know, in every Robin Williams movie, they have to have a scene of him doing his Robin Williams shtick and doing characters and whatever. I kind of felt like this was somebody saying, boy, this thing McAvoy did in Split, that was great. We need more of that. We need like 10 times more of that. So I feel like half of this movie was just him doing the characters, him switching around with the different characters. This film, honestly, it feels like a very, very short story that was padded to fill 2 hours.
Yes.
The whole plot is so small. The story is so small. There's nothing really, there's no big deal happening in this film. This is something that they could have cut down to a pretty tight 45 minutes. And you might have had like a pretty decent little story, like an episode of The Twilight Zone kind of thing.
And did you know his original cut was 3 hours?
It's probably another hour of McAvoy doing voices.
It's a movie I've waited 19 years for. Ever since I first saw Unbreakable, I said I wanted to see more of this character. I wanted to see more of this world. I wanted to see what else was out there. Because in the back of my mind, I said to myself, that couldn't be the only one. I liked some of the great little callbacks. For example, the first comic that Elijah Price receives is Active Comics 1 with the almost David Dunn-like character on the front fighting Jigaro, you know, the kind of yellow-orangish character which has become the signature for the Horde, you know, on the front and very beast-like, you know, I kind of like that. I kind of like those little callbacks that they managed to pull into it. I liked the fact that Elijah not only created David with that train wreck, but also created the Beast. You know, a little coincidental, sure, but still, I liked that they did that. I thought that was a nice little twist. The only good twist in the entire movie, I would like to add. I enjoyed the performances. I was curious to see where things were going, and I was actively enjoying myself up till the big end. And I kind of feel like it should still be something that if you're a fan of Unbreakable, you should pull the Band-Aid off and just get it over with. You really should just pull the Band-Aid off and get it over with, because it is part of the universe now, and you're just going to have to deal with the fact that this is where the story goes. Okay? I gave it a 6. And it is a very low 6. It could easily have been like a 5.99. I did enjoy myself at some moments. I thought there were some clever things in this movie that I described, but some parts of this movie just didn't resonate with me as much as the first two movies did. And even with tempering my expectations with all the bad reviews that I'd been hearing about, it still wasn't enough to prepare me for the awfulness of that ending. And it lost points because of that. So yeah, I enjoyed myself in some respects, but then the ending completely deflated it. And I was very, very sad to see these characters go in, I guess, an ignominious way. But it's part of the reason why I feel people need to see this. They need to remember that Shyamalan is inconsistent.
You know, part of me wants to agree with that inconsistent comment, but I'm starting to feel like he's getting a little consistent and not in a good way. Well, I'm starting to see the flaws are starting to become, like, the flaws of the film are starting to get familiar. He takes a lot of writing shortcuts. And again, he writes, and even The Sixth Sense, you could even argue that as great as that film is, and I really, that is a spectacular film, but even there, that is also sort of a short story that has been sort of fluffed up to fill 2 hours. This one I felt was very much the same way. He writes very small. He doesn't really think through a lot of things. I'm not going to say he's a stupid person, but I honestly feel like any writer worth his salt would have taken a pass at that story and said, okay, well, look, this has to get fixed. You have to explain this. You need to explain that. You need a little more here. There were so many things in this film that, again, when he cuts the guy's throat with the glass, again, no jail/mental hospital would ever have anything sharp of any kind in a cell with an inmate or a patient for exactly that reason. I mean, anybody should be able to tell you that. And there was just so many things about this film that I just thought just flies in the face of basic logic that I really could not get absorbed in it. And again, it started out slow, but once these things started to happen, I couldn't stop seeing them. I'm giving this film a 3. Well, and again, it might be a little harsh. And again, this is one of those cases where I don't enjoy tap dancing on somebody's work. Because again, he wrote and directed this film, so this is squarely on him. I can't blame interference. I can't blame anything. It's squarely on him. It's not very good. And a lot of people will enjoy it for the performances. I agree with you that McAvoy does a fine performance. He's overused. But again, the fact that the whole climax of the film takes place on the front lawn, small. It just felt very small. It was, I wouldn't even call it a middling film. I just feel like it was a very amateurish feeling film. Never reached its potential, never even got close. And for a film that was sort of touting that the potential has not been reached yet, that's glass.
It didn't even reach its own potential.
Exactly. Again, there was a lot of moments where I said, I don't get this. Why would that be the logic? Here's just one that I kind of saved as my favorite of those. When they finally get to that scene where it's the three of them lined up and the therapist is speaking to all three of them. Again, the premise of the scene is stupid because there's no way she would treat each one at the same time as if they all had. It's not like an AA meeting where everyone has kind of the same disease and everyone's story. No, they're three distinct screwballs. Why is David Dunn in shackles when the serial killer sitting directly across from her? This guy should be in a straitjacket or worse. This guy should be like Hannibal Lecter with the mask over his face. Why is he sitting there free as a bird to get up and do whatever he pleases at any moment? He could run at her. There's no guards around. There's nobody but David Dunn, who she said, well, there was that one time when the girl broke a rib because of something that you did. He's in the shackles. What am I not understanding about this movie?
Well, that beats mine. Mine was just the stupid over-exposition on the part of the psychiatrist. First, on the radio saying, we're taking him to Raven Sanitarium, the West section. It's like, why the hell do you announce that on a police radio? You know, what is the purpose of saying the West section? We're taking him to Raven Sanitarium. We'll sort him out when we get there. You know, duh. And then later on, she does it again. She does it again with the, Elijah Wood has escaped. He's going to go to the new towers. He's going to blow it up. Like, over the radio, to the loudspeaker, to everybody in the damn facility. What the hell? All right, now for the harder question, but I get the feeling maybe ours might be similar. Joe, for your consideration.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be similar, but even mine is going to be probably a little more half-hearted than yours, but I'm going to go with McAvoy's performance, which was, again, very good, the same way it was. Oh, really?
Here's your reminder.
Alexa, stop.
Straight.
Sorry about that. His performance is very good. It was a very good performance, but again, just overdone, that it just seemed to take over the film. Was him doing all the many different personalities. I get it, and I enjoyed it very much in Split, but in Split it was doled out much more carefully. It wasn't just thrown at you, like Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun.
Close your eyes, Marge.
Homer, you've got it set on whore.
It was
Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun.
There's a random one for you, right?
Yeah, seriously.
In retrospect, I'm willing to bet that the test audiences that saw this film probably went, And they said, well, what do you like about it? And they said, well, the guy who does the multiple personalities, he's really good. So they probably amped that up and just put a lot more of that into the film and dialed back on whatever else was not working. I'm going to go with his performance, but again, with an asterisk because they just did it way too much.
Well, I'm in agreement with you about the For Your Consideration. He was the shining part of the movie. Maybe they did overuse him, but he still gave an effective performance. The guy earned his paycheck. You got to give him that. Yes, it was overused. Yes, it didn't always have to focus on that, but at least he gave his all with every single scene, and you could tell and differentiate between each of his personalities, his identities, every time, with even just subtlety, without him opening his mouth, without him saying anything. And like it or not, overused or not, you got to give credit where credit is due with that one. And that is our review of Glass. These things happen. Please make sure you check out our other shows. Joe, have a nice night. Thank you for watching.
See you next time. Wait, what? You actually made it to the end of the video? You sat through all our pontificating? Well, thank you so much for watching, and just to show you that we don't bag on every movie, check out our much more favorable reviews of Unbreakable and Split. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back with more videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.